Hey, welcome to this video. Today we will be falling asleep to the entire history of ancient Rome. Before we begin, comment down below what time it is where you live, and as always, please subscribe only if you like these videos. Now let's start by painting a picture. Your eyes flutter open, not to the light of a modern sky, but to a cool mist rising from the banks of the Tiber. The world is hush, the air damp with that ancient hush before civilization's dawn. You find yourself cradled in the soft curve of a basket, drifting gently on a slow current. At the water's edge, a sacred fig tree, its broad leaves rustling quietly, brings you to shore. Two forms lean over you. A she-wolf, strong and calm, her fur bristling, and the rhythmic flutter of powerful breath. A woodpecker flits nearby, softly calling from the fig's branches. They are guardians of the wild. They belong to none, yet they stay. You do not cry. Their warmth surrounds you, a silent comfort. In this moment, your life begins. This is the legend of Romulus and Remus, twin brothers destined to found a city. In Roman myth, you and your twin brother are born of divine and royal origins. Your mother, Rhea Silvia, a Vestal virgin forced into chastity. Your father, Mars, god of war, and through a twist of fate, your destiny begins on the river's edge, cradled by the she-wolf until a shepherd named Faustulus rescues you both. You grow in the shepherd's hut, learning to tend flocks with gentle hands, your laughter echoing through the fields. One morning, you hear of your true heritage. The usurper Amulius overthrew your grandfather, King Numitor of Alba Longa. A spark ignites within you and homecoming begins. When the day arrives, you yearn for something greater, a city to call your own. You stand among Rome's 7 hills, the world silent but for your breath and the wind through young leaves. Remus steps onto the Aventine, the air cool. You climb the Palatine, where the wolves once watched over your infancy. The god's will must guide you. Remus sees 6 vultures in the sky first, an omen that whispers to him. But then you, standing firm, spot 12 soaring higher. Divine favour has chosen you. The argument that follows is sudden, fierce, and tragically final. Remus is struck down, and though a sorrow for all time, Rome is named for you alone. You raise the first walls of the city, its boundaries stretching beyond stone, its foundation woven from myth, ambition, sacrifice. Houses, altars, and law spring forth. Rome lives. Of course, not all legends stand on factual ground. Modern scholars accept that Romulus and Remus are powerful symbols, perhaps borrowed from older Mediterranean stories and reshaped over centuries. Archaeological findings, like a defensive wall on the Palatine Hill dating to around the mid-8th century BC, suggest a real settlement may lie beneath the myth, giving possible weight to the ancient stories. Yet, their names endure as more than myth. They are the living core of Rome's soul. Imagine the earliest Romans rising in simple homes, either huts or clustered houses where grain, hearth, and hope combine. A few might live in modest domi, homes, but most dwell within communal clusters, tending sheep, farming, worshipping household spirits, the lares, each day offering bread and water at their small altars. You're a part of a family ruled by the paterfamilias, the oldest male with absolute authority over life and death. Yet love and daily hum linger. Children's laughter, shared bread, evening prayers for safety. Life is simple, yet sacred. In the city's heart, forums hum with early trade, justice, chatter, the scent of grain, wood smoke, and livestock mingling, the stirrings of a civilization in its earliest breath. Now let your breathing slow. Picture gentle embers in nightly hearths, the scent of baked grain drifting through open windows. Hear the soft murmur of early Rome settling into darkness, the river's lullabies carrying you into restful peace. History and myth sleep beside each other here, and you with them safe, calm, carried into the story. As the night deepens, we'll travel onward, into the rise of the kings, the birth of republican ideals, the growth of institutions and families, and the rhythms of daily life in the evolving world of Rome. But for now, let your mind rest here, in the hush of founding, where legends were born and the echoes of the past gently cradle your dreams. Now let's move on to the Roman kingdom 753 to 509 BCE. Your eyes open again, this time to the steady flicker of torchlight against rough wooden beams. The smell of smoke, animal hides, and freshly baked bread fills the air. You're no longer cradled in the wilderness, you're in a hut, among the first Roman families. Outside, voices murmur in Latin, a language still young, shaped by the hills and valleys around you. It is the 8th century BCE, and Rome is not yet an empire, not even a republic. It is a village, but one destined for greatness. Rome's earliest history speaks of 7 kings, each leaving their mark, each a step closer to the city's rise. Romulus, 753 to 717 BCE, Rome's founder, its first king. He organized the Senate, dividing nobles into patricians and common folk into plebeians. He gave structure where there had been only myth. Yet legend says he vanished mysteriously during a storm, taken up into the heavens, becoming the god Quirinus. Numa Pompilius, 717 to 673 BCE. If Romulus was the sword, Numa was the olive branch. He brought peace, religion, and law. Imagine yourself at dawn, watching priests the pontifices make offerings at new temples. Under Numa, Romans learned ritual, calendar, and the sacred rhythm of civic life. Tullus Hostilius, 673 to 642, BCEA warrior king, restless and fierce. Under him, Rome grew through conquest, and its army hardened. The story of the Horatii and Curiatii triplet warriors from Rome and Alba Longa reminds Romans of sacrifice for the state. Ancus Marcius, 642 to 617 BCE, builder of bridges and walls. He is said to have constructed Rome's first prison and expanded into new territories, blending conquest with colonization. Tarquinius Priscus, 616 to 579 BCE, Rome's first Etruscan king. Picture colourful robes, bronze mirrors, and chariot signs of Etruscan influence. He began the Cloaca Maxima, Rome's great sewer, draining marshes to make way for the Forum, the heart of Roman life. Servius Tullius, 579 to 534 BCE, born of humble origins, yet a reformer who reorganized Roman society into classes based on wealth. He fortified the city with walls, laying foundations of both defence and democracy. Tarquinius Superbus, 534 to 509 BCE, Tarquin the Proud, the last king. His reign was marked by cruelty and arrogance. He ruled without the Senate, seizing power by force. His downfall came through outrage. His son's assault of the noblewoman Lucretia led to revolt, sparking Rome's first great transformation. Imagine stepping outside your hut in early Rome. The morning air is heavy with wood smoke. Chickens cluck in wicker pens, goats bleat, and dogs roam freely. Homes are simple: wooden posts, clay walls, thatched roofs. Inside, one room serves all purposes: cooking, eating, sleeping. Food is plain but nourishing. Porridge from spelt, bread baked on stones, olives, cheese and wine diluted with water. Work is hard and constant. Men till fields and herd animals, while women spin wool and tend the household shrine, the lararium, where small clay figures guard the family. Religion is everywhere. Spirits are thought to live in rivers, trees, and doorways. Every act, planting, marrying, even opening a door, demands respect for the gods. Rome at this stage is no empire. It is survival, but survival with purpose, guided by ritual and order. Life in the kingdom is not peaceful for long. Rome's neighbours, the Sabines, the Latins and the Etruscans all compete for dominance. Wars are frequent, yet each victory adds territory, bringing Rome closer to permanence. Picture standing at the edge of the Forum, once a marsh, now a gathering place drained by the Cloaca Maxima. Merchants sell clay pots and salted fish. Elders meet to settle disputes. Children chase each other in the dust. Rome is alive, growing. But beneath its growth lies discontent. Kings rule by power, not consent. By 509 BCE, Rome has had enough. When Tarquin the Proud is expelled, monarchy itself is rejected forever. In its place, something new and radical takes root, a res publica, a commonwealth. Rome becomes a republic. Now comes the early republic, 509 to 264 BCE. Your eyes open to the sound of debate voices echoing inside a chamber of stone. Torches burn on the walls, the smell of oil and sweat mixing in the air. You are in Rome, but it is no longer ruled by kings. It is the dawn of something radical, a system built not on monarchy but on res publica, the public thing. The Roman Republic is born. In 509 BCE, the last king, Tarquin the Proud, was overthrown. His cruelty and arrogance had enraged the people, but it was the tragedy of Lucretia that became the spark. Her death by her own hand, after being violated by the king's son, ignited a revolt. Outrage spread like fire, and Rome's people swore they would never again be ruled by a king. In place of monarchy, a new system emerged. 2 consuls, elected yearly, held power together. They could veto each other, a safeguard against tyranny. The Senate, once an advisory council, became Rome's central governing body, its debates shaping the future of the city. But this new republic was not equal for all. Power rested with the patricians, Rome's aristocratic families. The common people, the plebeians, had little voice. Imagine being one of them, rising at dawn to work the fields, paying taxes, fighting in Rome's wars, yet having no say in the laws that governed you. Resentment grew. This tension gave birth to the struggle of the orders, a centuries-long push by plebeians for political rights. In 494 BCE, plebeians staged the first secession, leaving the city en masse. Without its workers and soldiers, Rome could not function. The patricians were forced to listen. Out of this came the tribunes of the plebs, officials elected to defend plebeian interests. Their word carried weight. They had the power to veto unfair laws. By 450 BCE, plebeian pressure forced Rome to codify its laws in the 12 tables. Imagine them, bronze tablets displayed in the Forum, so no man could claim ignorance of the law. They covered marriage, property, and crime. Harsh, but a foundation of Roman justice. Over time, more reforms came. Plebeians gained the right to marry patricians, to hold office, and eventually to become consuls themselves. By the mid-4th century BCE, the Republic was a more balanced system, though tensions never vanished. Let's step into the streets of early Republican Rome. Houses are modest, brick or stone for the wealthy, wooden and cramped for the poor. The smell of bread baking drifts from communal ovens. Markets fill the forum, fish, olives, and amphorae of wine. Farmers drive carts of grain from the countryside. Religion still anchors daily life. Festivals honour gods like Jupiter, Mars, and Vesta. Priests read omens in the flight of birds or the entrails of sacrificed animals. At home, fathers teach sons farming and civic duty. Mothers oversee weaving, meals, and the household gods. Children learn obedience first, literacy second. Life is simple, yet always tied to service to family, to gods, and to Rome. But Rome was never content to remain a small city. By the 5th and 4th centuries BCE, Rome began to conquer its neighbours. Wars against the Latins and Sabines brought nearby lands under Roman control. Against the Etruscans, Rome tested its strength and emerged victorious. In 390 BCE, disaster struck. The Gauls sacked Rome, burning much of the city. But Rome rebuilt, stronger and more determined. The memory of that humiliation would fuel centuries of expansion. By the 3rd century BCE, Rome had subdued most of central and southern Italy. Roads stretched across the land, military colonies secured borders, and conquered peoples were gradually bound to Rome through alliances and citizenship. Standing on a hill, you could see it. A patchwork of territories, farms, and cities, all now tied to the rising republic. Central to this expansion was the Roman army. In the early republic, soldiers were citizens, farmers who set aside ploughs to take up spears. Service was a duty, not a profession. They fought in legions, disciplined units of heavy infantry, their strength rooted in training, loyalty, and unity. Imagine standing in line, shield in hand, the smell of sweat and leather around you. The consul rides past on horseback, raising his arm. Trumpets sound. The legion advances in step, every man part of something larger than himself. By 264 BCE, Rome was the dominant power in Italy. Its republic was stronger than ever, balanced between senate, consuls, and tribunes, fueled by the labour and loyalty of its people. But beyond Italy lay new challenges. Across the sea in North Africa rose another great power, Carthage. A clash was inevitable. The Republic had survived kings, internal struggle, and invasion. Now it would face its first true international rival. Ahead lay the Punic War's battles that would test Rome's endurance, ambition, and destiny. The stage is set. Rome has risen from a village of huts to the master of Italy. Its republic has survived crises and grown stronger. But the next century will bring elephants over mountains, fleets at sea, and a struggle for supremacy that will decide who rules the Mediterranean. Now let's dive into The Republic Expands, the Punic Wars and beyond, 264 to 146 BCE. Your eyes open to the salty breeze of the sea. Ships with tall, square sails rock gently in the harbour, their prows carved with fierce eyes to ward off misfortune. Rome has grown far beyond its village roots, its legions command Italy, its laws bind allies. But now the Republic's gaze turns outward, across the waters, and across those waters lies Carthage, a wealthy trading empire, mistress of the seas, rival in power and ambition. Two giants, side by side in the Mediterranean, cannot help but clash. What follows will shape the destiny of Rome forever. The Punic Wars. It begins in Sicily. A dispute over a small city, Messana, pulls Rome and Carthage into open conflict. Rome, new to naval warfare, builds a fleet almost overnight. To counter Carthage's superior seamanship, Romans invent the corvus, a boarding bridge with iron spikes. Instead of fighting at sea like sailors, Romans fight like infantry on floating platforms. Battles rage across Sicily, and after 2 decades of grinding war, Rome emerges victorious. Carthage surrenders, ceding Sicily Rome's first province beyond Italy. Imagine the celebration in Rome. Processions through the streets, soldiers carrying exotic goods, children pressing forward to see strange fruits and animals brought from afar. A new chapter has opened. Now the Second Punic War, 218 to 201 BCE, starts, but Carthage is not defeated. In Spain, a young general rises, Hannibal Barca. Picture him now, dark eyes fixed on the horizon, hand resting on the neck of a great war elephant. His vow, made before the gods, is to destroy Rome. In 218 BCE, Hannibal leads an army from Spain across the Pyrenees, through Gaul and over the towering Alps. Snow swirls, men freeze, elephants stumble on icy cliffs, yet against all odds, he emerges into Italy. For 15 years, Hannibal ravages the peninsula. At Cannae, 216 BCE, his tactics annihilate a Roman army nearly twice his size. The plain is littered with tens of thousands of Roman dead, a defeat so terrible that even today, military academies study it. Yet Rome does not yield. Citizens rally, refusing peace. Year after year, they raise new legions, draining their farms and fortunes, but never their will. Finally, in 202 BCE, the Roman general Scipio Africanus strikes at Carthage itself. At the Battle of Zama, Roman discipline and Numidian cavalry defeat Hannibal. Carthage surrenders, stripped of power, forced to pay crushing tribute. Rome is now the greatest power in the Western Mediterranean. In the Third Punic War, 149 to 146 BCE, still, suspicion lingers. Carthage must be destroyed, the Senator Cato repeats at the end of every speech. In 149 BCE, Rome attacks one last time. Carthage, though weakened, resists fiercely. For 3 years its people fight, until in 146 BCE, Roman legions storm the city. The streets echo with fire and screams. Ancient walls collapse. Survivors are sold into slavery. Carthage, once a rival empire, is erased. Rome now dominates the Western Mediterranean completely. Its power is unmatched and its ambitions only grow. While Carthage fell, Rome also turned eastward. Wars against Macedonia and the Seleucid Empire bring Greece and much of Asia Minor under Roman influence. Imagine walking through Rome and seeing Greek statues, books and ideas flooding the city. Philosophers lecture in marketplaces, and Roman youths learn Greek as eagerly as their own tongue. By mid-2nd century BCE, Rome controls territories from Spain to Greece. Its armies march victorious across 3 continents. At home, Rome changes too. The Forum grows crowded with temples, basilicas and markets. Senators in white togas stroll past columns, their voices heavy with pride. Wealth from conquest flows into the city gold, slaves, grain. The rich grow richer, their villas adorned with mosaics and fountains. But the poor struggle. Small farmers serving long terms in the army return to find their land lost, bought up by wealthy elites. Crowds of displaced peasants fill Rome seeking work dependent on cheap grain. Rome is powerful, but cracks are forming. Stand now at the edge of the Mediterranean. From Italy to Spain, from Greece to North Africa, the world is Roman. Roads stretch across mountains, fleets sail across seas, laws bind distant peoples. The Republic has triumphed over its rivals. Its legions seem unstoppable. Its destiny appears limitless. And yet, storm clouds gather. Inequality grows. Ambition sharpens. The Republic, stretched by conquest, begins to strain under its own success. Ahead lies civil war, betrayal, and the rise of men whose names will echo forever: Julius Caesar, Pompey, Crassus. The Republic has conquered the world. Soon it will have to confront itself. Now Julius Caesar and the fall of the Republic 100 to 44 BCE. Your eyes open to the sound of voices loud, urgent, echoing off stone walls. The forum is crowded. Senators in white togas argue beneath the shadow of temples. Merchants shout prices in the market. Soldiers march in formation through the streets. Rome has grown vast, but so has its turmoil. The Republic is straining under its own weight. Wealth from conquest has made the rich richer, and the poor poorer. Ambition festers. Leaders rise promising reform only to meet violent ends. The Republic is powerful but fragile. Into this storm steps a man whose name will echo for all time: Gaius Julius Caesar. Before Caesar, others tried to mend Rome's wounds. The Gracchi brothers, Tiberius and Gaius, pushed for land reform to help poor farmers. Both were murdered by angry elites, their blood staining the forum. Powerful generals rose: Marius, who reformed the army, and Sulla, who seized Rome by force and ruled as dictator. Their struggles left scars, teaching Romans that armies could be tools for personal power. By Caesar's birth in 100 BCE, the Republic was already faltering. Caesar grew up in a patrician family claiming descent from Venus herself. Yet his youth was precarious. During Sulla's dictatorship, Caesar was targeted and fled Rome, narrowly escaping death. But he returned, rising swiftly. Skilled as both soldier and speaker, Caesar charmed the crowds. His oratory stirred the people. His generosity bought loyalty. Step into the forum and you'd see him there, tall, confident, his voice carrying over the noise, promising Rome greatness. In 60 BCE, Caesar forged an alliance with two other powerful men, Pompey the Great, Rome's greatest general, and Crassus, its wealthiest citizen. Together, they formed the first triumvirate, a secret pact to dominate Roman politics. As consul, Caesar secured command of Gaul, modern-day France. For nearly a decade he waged war there, conquering tribes and expanding Rome's territory to the English Channel and the Rhine. Imagine marching with his legions, endless forests ahead, the clatter of armour, the cold bite of northern winds. You hear Caesar's voice calm, assured as he leads you into battle. Victories pile up. At Alesia 52 BCE, Caesar defeats the Gallic leader Vercingetorix, surrounding his army with massive fortifications. Gaul falls, and Caesar's fame soars. He writes detailed commentaries, the Commentari de Bello Gallico, sending them back to Rome propaganda disguised as history, read eagerly by citizens. He is no longer just a general, he is a hero, but success breeds jealousy. In Rome, Pompey turns against him. The Senate, fearing Caesar's power, orders him to disband his army and return home as a private citizen. On a cold January night in 49 BCE, Caesar stands at the banks of the Rubicon River, the border of his province. To cross it with an army is treason, but to obey means ruin. He steps forward declaring, "Alea iacta est," the die is cast. The river flows behind you as the legion marches into Italy. Civil war has begun. Caesar moves swiftly. Pompey and his allies flee to Greece. At Pharsalus 48 BCE, Caesar's smaller force defeats Pompey's larger army. Pompey flees to Egypt, only to be assassinated on the orders of Pharaoh's advisors. When Caesar arrives in Alexandria, he is presented with Pompey's severed head. He turns away in disgust, but here another figure enters his life. Cleopatra VII. Their alliance, political and personal, binds Rome to Egypt's queen, and together they change history. Back in Rome, Caesar is unstoppable. He defeats remaining enemies in Africa and Spain. By 46 BCE, he is master of the Republic. Caesar does not call himself king, the Romans hate monarchy. Instead, he takes the title Dictator Perpetuo, dictator for life. Imagine walking through Rome now, statues of Caesar, his face stamped on coins, his name celebrated by crowds. He launches reforms granting citizenship, reforming the calendar, forgiving debts. Many adore him, but others whisper of tyranny. Senators, jealous and fearful, plot in secret. It is March 15th, 44 BCE, the Ides of March. Caesar enters the Senate, toga draped around his shoulders. The air is tense. Senators gather, their faces grim. Suddenly steel flashes, blades strike. 23 wounds pierce his body. According to legend, he sees his old ally Brutus among them and utters, "Et tu, Brute? And you too, Brutus?" He collapses at the base of Pompey's statue, his blood pooling beneath the gaze of Rome's former hero. The forum falls silent. Julius Caesar is dead. But with Caesar's death, the Republic is not saved. Instead, chaos deepens. His heir, Octavian, the future Augustus, rises to challenge his assassins. Civil war returns, fiercer than ever. The Republic has ended not with reform, but with the blade. Its fall is sealed. Ahead lies the birth of something new, an empire. The rise of Augustus and the birth of empire, 27 BCE to 14 CE. Your eyes open to sunlight streaming through towering columns. The forum gleams with new marble temples, the air alive with the hum of a city at its height. But Rome is restless. Civil wars have scarred the land, generals have risen and fallen, and the Republic lies shattered. Out of this chaos emerges a new figure, a young man who will reshape Rome forever, Octavian, Julius Caesar's heir. When Caesar was murdered in 44 BCE, Rome was thrown into turmoil. His assassins Brutus and Cassius claimed to be liberators, but the people mourned Caesar. Riots broke out. Fires burned through the city. In Caesar's will, Octavian, his grandnephew, was named adopted son and heir. At just 18 years old, Octavian stepped into a world of treachery and ambition. Many underestimated him. They would learn otherwise. Forming the second triumvirate with Mark Antony and Lepidus, Octavian vowed to avenge Caesar. At the Battle of Philippi, 42 BCE, Brutus and Cassius were defeated. The conspirators fell by their own hands, and Caesar's legacy was avenged. But alliances in Rome never lasted long. Soon, Octavian and Antony turned on each other. Mark Antony, Caesar's loyal general, aligned with Cleopatra of Egypt. Their love story captured imaginations but alarmed Rome. Whispers spread that Antony planned to make Alexandria the new capital, to raise foreign gods above Rome's. In 31 BCE, Octavian confronted Antony at the Battle of Actium. Picture it. Hundreds of ships clashing in the Ionian Sea, sails snapping, water ablaze with burning vessels. Antony and Cleopatra's forces crumble. They retreat to Egypt, where, cornered and defeated, they end their lives. Octavian stands victorious. No rival remains. In 27 BCE, Octavian presented himself not as a tyrant, but as a restorer of peace. The Senate grants him the title Augustus, the revered one. He becomes the first emperor of Rome, though he cloaks his rule in republican traditions. Let's imagine walking through Rome under Augustus. Temples rise in gleaming marble, inscribed with his name. Roads stretch across provinces, soldiers marching in perfect formation. The Arapacis, the altar of peace, stands as a monument to a new age. This is the Pax Romana, the Roman peace. For 2 centuries, relative stability will allow trade, culture, and empire to flourish. For ordinary Romans, life under Augustus begins to change. In the city, crowds fill the Circus Maximus to watch chariots thunder past. The Colosseum has not yet been built, but theatres and arenas buzz with excitement. In the home, wealthy families dine on roasted meats, fish sauces, figs, and honeyed wine, while the poor rely on grain distributions to survive. In the provinces, farmers, traders, and soldiers adapt Roman customs, blending them with local traditions. Latin spreads. Roman law and citizenship bind the empire together. Religion also shifts. Augustus presents himself as favoured by the gods, restoring old temples and rituals. The people pray not just to Jupiter and Mars, but increasingly to the genius of Augustus himself. In 14 CE, after more than 40 years of rule, Augustus died peacefully at the age of 75. His last words, according to legend, were, "Have I played my part well in the comedy of life? Then applaud as I exit." He leaves behind a city of marble, an empire stretching from Spain to Syria, from Egypt to the Rhine. The Republic is gone. In its place stands a system that will endure for centuries: the Roman Empire. The torch passes to his stepson, Tiberius. The Julio-Claudian dynasty has begun. Now let's imagine the daily life in Rome during the Pax Romana. Your eyes open to a golden morning in the heart of the empire. The streets of Rome are alive, sunlight gleaming on marble columns, the air rich with the scent of fresh bread, olive oil, and the faint tang of smoke from hearth fires. The empire is at peace, its borders secured by legions, its citizens bound by law, its people carrying on the rhythm of daily life. This is the Pax Romana, the Roman peace, and you are living within it. The day begins early. Roosters crow. In cramped insulae, towering apartment blocks that house the majority of Rome's population, families stir awake. Mothers prepare simple breakfasts, bread dipped in wine, figs, or porridge from barley. Fathers pull on tunics, ready to head into workshops, markets, or fields. Children laugh and chatter, tugging at the hems of their parents' clothes. For the wealthy, mornings look different. In sprawling domus homes, servants bustle. Slaves grind flour, draw water, and light braziers. The paterfamilias, head of the household, conducts morning rituals at the household shrine, honouring the lares and penates, spirits of home and hearth. By mid-morning, the forum is alive. Imagine yourself there. Merchants cry out, selling olives, honey, fish, and spices from distant provinces. Philosophers argue beneath colonnades, drawing crowds of eager listeners. Magistrates issue rulings. Scribes recording laws, while messengers run with news from the provinces. The clatter of hooves echoes as carts rattle over cobblestones. Fountains bubble, providing water to citizens who pause to wash hands and faces before continuing their errands. The smell is a mixture of perfumes, sweat, and animals, a testament to a city teeming with more than 1 million souls. In poor families' insulae, walls are thin, rooms dark and crowded. Fires are a constant risk, and water must be carried up flights of stairs. In wealthy villas, mosaics decorate floors with scenes of gods, battles, and vines heavy with grapes. Courtyards, or atria, hold pools reflecting sunlight. Guests recline on couches sipping watered wine as musicians play softly on lutes and flutes. Meals are central to life. The poor eat simple stews, bread and lentils. The wealthy feast on roasted dormice, oysters, exotic fruits, and sauces rich with garum. a pungent fish paste beloved by Romans. Banquets stretch into the night, punctuated by poetry, music, and philosophical debate. Rome is never still. Entertainment fills its days. In the Circus Maximus, chariots thunder around the track. Imagine the roar of the crowd, 150,000 voices rising as teams of red, blue, green, and white clash for victory. In amphitheatres, gladiators battle for glory. Steel strikes against steel. The crowd gasps. The emperor raises his hand. Mercy or death hangs in the balance. In theatres, actors in masks perform tragedies and comedies, their voices carrying to every seat. For the masses, these games are more than amusement. They are Rome's way of uniting its people's bread and circuses, keeping spirits high and unrest low. As the sun lowers, citizens flock to the public baths, vast complexes of marble halls, pools and steam rooms. Here, rich and poor alike bathe, exercise, gossip and conduct business. Step into one now. The floor is warm beneath your feet, heated by furnaces below. You move through rooms of increasing heat, tepidarium, caldarium, frigidarium emerging refreshed. Conversations buzz around you. Politics, trade, rumours of distant battles. The baths are more than hygiene. They are the beating heart of Roman social life. As darkness falls, oil lamps flicker in windows. Street performers sing and play instruments in the forum. Wealthy Romans recline at banquets, sipping wine sweetened with honey, debating philosophy and politics. In poorer quarters, families gather close, sharing food, stories and laughter before sleep. The city quiets, though never completely. Dogs bark, guards patrol, water splashes in aqueducts and fountains. Beneath the stars, Rome breathes eternal, restless, alive. Daily life stretches beyond the capital. In distant provinces, farmers in Egypt harvest grain for Rome's bread. Shepherds in Spain herd flocks across rocky hills. Traders in Syria load caravans with silks and spices. Soldiers guard the frontiers along the Rhine and Danube, building forts and roads under the cold gaze of northern skies. Everywhere, life continues to be diverse yet bound together by Roman law, language and roads. The empire is vast, but its rhythm is shared. Let your breath slow. Imagine lying beneath the painted ceiling of a Roman villa or in the cramped warmth of a family insula. The hum of the city fades, replaced by dreams. Whether rich or poor, Roman life flows in cycles, dawn to dusk, labour to rest, offerings to gods, bread to circuses. This is Rome at peace, its empire secure, its people united in daily rhythms that span the vast Mediterranean. But peace never stays. Now let's move on to the emperors of glory and madness. Your eyes open to the glitter of marble palaces, torchlight flickering on gilded columns. Rome is at its peak, but within its walls power rests in the hands of emperors' men whose temperaments and choices shape the lives of millions. Some bring stability and brilliance, others bring fear, excess and chaos. Step into the reign of Gaius Caesar, known as Caligula Little Boots, a nickname from his childhood among soldiers. At first his rule was celebrated. The people welcome him with joy, seeing in him the promise of Augustus reborn. But soon whispers spread. His behaviour turned strange, then cruel. He declares himself a living god, demanding worship. He stages bizarre spectacles, ordering soldiers to collect seashells as spoils of war after a campaign against the ocean. He lavishes wealth on games and palaces while the treasury empties. Executions become spectacles. Senators tremble at his moods. Imagine walking the streets of Rome in these years. Citizens whisper in taverns, fearful of spies. The air is heavy with unease. In 41 CE, Caligula's cruelty brings his end, assassinated by his own guards within their palace walls. Next comes Nero, remembered as one of history's most infamous rulers. At first, his reign carries promise. He supports the arts, lowers taxes, and entertains the masses. But soon, paranoia consumes him. He has his own mother, Agrippina, killed when she threatens his authority. He stages lavish performances, singing and acting on stage, demanding citizens applaud. In 64 CE, fire sweeps through Rome, destroying much of the city. Rumours spread that Nero himself ordered it, so he could rebuild Rome to his vision. To deflect blame, he accuses Christians, unleashing brutal persecutions. Picture the city during the Great Fire. Flames leaping into the night sky, people fleeing with bundles on their backs, the roar of collapsing timbers. Amid the chaos, Nero watches from his palace, composing verses. In 68 CE, rebellion rises. Abandoned by allies, Nero flees. Surrounded, he takes his own life, declaring, "What an artist dies in me." His death plunges Rome into civil war. But not all emperors are mad. Some bring vision and stability. Hadrian is one such figure. A lover of Greek culture, he travels widely, overseeing the empire's vast frontiers. In Britain, he orders the construction of Hadrian's Wall, stretching across the island, marking Rome's northern boundary. Imagine standing on the windswept cliffs, stone ramparts cutting across hills, soldiers keeping watch against the northern tribes. He commissions grand buildings, including the Pantheon's magnificent dome, still standing today. He strengthens administration, focusing not just on conquest but on consolidation, ensuring the empire's strength endures. Under Hadrian, Rome breathes stability, its provinces bound more closely together. Finally, enter the age of Marcus Aurelius, remembered not for cruelty or excess, but for wisdom. By day, he leads Rome's armies against Germanic tribes along the Danube frontier. By night, he writes private reflections on duty, mortality, and virtue. These meditations, never meant for public eyes, become one of history's greatest works of philosophy. Meditations. Imagine him now, seated by a campfire on the frontier, snow drifting, soldiers huddled nearby. He writes by flickering light. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength under Marcus Aurelius. Rome holds firm, but challenges loom. Plagues sweep the empire, borders strain, and his death will bring instability, for his son Commodus lacks his wisdom. The emperors of Rome embody its extremes: Caligula's madness, Nero's flames, Hadrian's walls, Marcus Aurelius's philosophy. Together, they show the fragile balance between glory and disaster, wisdom and folly. As you drift into rest, imagine walking through a Rome shaped by each of these rulers' palaces gleaming, temples burning, walls rising on distant frontiers, a philosopher's quiet pen scratching in the night. This is the empire at its height, magnificent, terrifying, eternal. Now let's talk about the crisis of the 3rd century, 235 to 284 CE. Your eyes open to a Rome unsettled. The grandeur of Augustus and the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius feel like distant memories. The empire is vast, stretching from Britain to the sands of Arabia, but its foundations are cracking. In the mid-3rd century CE, Rome faces a storm unlike any before: invasions, plagues, economic ruin, and civil war. Historians will call it the crisis of the 3rd century. It begins in 235 CE, when Emperor Severus Alexander is assassinated by his own soldiers. With his death, a century of turmoil opens. Imagine the empire now, Generals rise and fall with dizzying speed. Soldiers proclaim their commanders emperor, only to betray them when fortunes shift. In just 50 years, Rome will see more than 20 emperors, many reigning for only months before being murdered or overthrown. The streets of Rome echo with uncertainty. Coins bear the faces of new rulers almost as quickly as they fade. Trust evaporates. Stability feels like a dream. While Rome tears itself apart from within, enemies press hard on its borders. From the east, the Sassanid Persians surge forward, capturing cities and defeating Roman legions. In 260 CE, Emperor Valerian himself is captured in battle, humiliated, forced to kneel before the Persian king. From the north, Germanic tribes pour across the Rhine and Danube, raiding deep into Roman territory. Villages burn, families flee, entire provinces tremble. Pirates prowl the Mediterranean, seizing ships and cutting trade routes. Imagine living in a small Roman town. The distant thunder of hooves grows louder, walls shake with battering rams, smoke rises on the horizon. Safety feels fragile, uncertain. As if war were not enough, disease spreads. The plague of Cyprian sweeps across the empire, killing thousands daily. In crowded cities, carts filled with bodies roll through the streets, the smell of death heavy in the air. The economy crumbles. Rome debases its coinage, mixing silver with cheap metals. Inflation soars. Bread grows scarce. Ordinary citizens struggle to survive while corruption festers. Rome itself begins to split apart. In the west, the Gallic Empire forms, ruled independently from Gaul and Britain. In the east, the Palmyrene Empire, under the powerful Queen Zenobia, breaks away, ruling Egypt and Syria. For a time, Rome is no longer a single empire, but three separate states. The dream of unity feels broken. Yet, even in crisis, Rome endures. Strong leaders emerge to restore order. Aurelian 270 to 275 CE, called Restituta Orbis, the restorer of the world, defeats invaders, reunites the fractured empire and builds massive walls around Rome itself, some of which still stand today. His victories bring hope, but his reign is short. He too falls to assassination, another victim of Rome's endless cycle of blood and ambition. By the late 3rd century, the empire is battered but alive. Out of chaos rises a new figure, Diocletian, who will impose reforms so radical that Rome itself will change forever. He will divide power, restructure government, and plant the seeds of transformation that lead toward the empire's later survival in the East. But in this moment, as the 3rd century closes, Rome feels weary. Its people whisper of decline, of gods abandoned, of fortunes fading. The eternal city staggers but does not yet fall. Next is the topic of Constantine, Christianity and the later empire, 306 to 337 CE. Your eyes open to a Rome in transition. The empire has endured the storms of the 3rd century, but it is changed. Civil wars have scarred the land. Enemies still press the borders, and faith in old gods falters. Out of this uncertainty rises a new leader, Constantine the Great, a man who will forever alter the destiny of Rome. The year is 306 CE. Constantine, son of the Emperor Constantius, is proclaimed ruler by his troops in Britain. But Rome no longer has a single emperor. Under Diocletian's system, power is shared by multiple rulers, the Tetrarchy. Rival emperors contest control, and civil war once again tears the empire apart. Imagine the clash of armies, standards flying, the thunder of hooves shaking the ground. One by one, Constantine defeats his rivals, until only one great enemy remains, Maxentius, who holds Rome. It is 312 CE. Constantine prepares for battle at the Milvian Bridge, north of Rome. On the eve of combat, he experiences a vision, a cross of light in the sky, with the words, "In hoc signo vinces," in this sign you will conquer. The next morning, his soldiers paint the Christian symbol, the Chi-Rho, on their shields. Against all odds, Constantine triumphs. Maxentius falls into the Tiber, his army scattered. With victory, Constantine enters Rome as sole ruler of the West. He credits the Christian God with his success. The following year, Constantine and his co-emperor Licinius issue the Edict of Milan 313 CE, granting freedom of worship across the empire. For centuries, Christians had faced persecution, hiding in catacombs, their faith tested by fire and blood. Now they step into the light. Churches rise in cities. Bishops gather openly. Martyrs are honoured, their graves becoming places of pilgrimage. The faith of a minority begins its journey toward becoming the empire's spiritual core. But Christianity is divided, its teachings debated fiercely. In 325 CE, Constantine convenes the Council of Nicaea, the first ecumenical council of the Church. Imagine bishops from across the empire gathering, their robes flowing, voices echoing in vast halls. They debate the nature of Christ, the Trinity, the core of Christian doctrine. Out of their deliberations comes the Nicene Creed, a statement of faith still recited today. Constantine, though not baptized until his deathbed, acts as Christianity's protector, binding church and empire together. Constantine also reshapes the empire's geography. In 330 CE, he founds a new capital on the site of Byzantium, naming it Constantinople. Imagine its harbours filled with ships, its walls rising strong against invaders, its palaces gleaming with mosaics. Unlike Rome, crowded and ancient, Constantinople is fresh, defensible, a crossroads of Europe and Asia. For centuries to come, it will stand as the heart of the Eastern Roman Empire, long after the West has fallen. Constantine dies in 337 CE, baptized as a Christian in his final days. His reign marks a turning point. Christianity, once persecuted, is now embraced. The empire shifts eastward, planting roots that will outlast the old capital. The idea of Rome itself transforms, no longer just a city or state, but a union of power and faith. As night falls, picture torches flickering in the streets of Constantinople, prayers rising from basilicas, soldiers standing guard at mighty gates. Rome has changed, but it endures. Now became the fall of the Western Roman Empire 410 to 476 CE. Your eyes open to a Rome that feels tired. The Eternal City, once vibrant with marble, markets and music, now carries a shadow of decline. Walls crumble, aqueducts crack. The air, once filled with the voices of a million, grows quieter. The Western Roman Empire has weathered centuries of struggle, invasions, corruption, division. But now, the end draws near. By the 4th and 5th centuries CE, Rome faces endless challenges: barbarian invasions. Goths, Vandals, Huns and Franks push against the frontiers seeking land and plunder. Economic collapse. Trade routes falter. Coinage loses value. Famine and poverty spread. Political weakness. Emperors rise and fall quickly, often puppets of powerful generals or foreign mercenaries. In the east, Constantinople thrives, its walls strong, its emperors wealthy. But in the west, Rome struggles to survive. The unthinkable happens in 410 CE. The Visigoths, led by Alaric, march on Rome. Imagine standing within the city walls as the ground shakes with the tramp of thousands of boots. Gates fall. The eternal city is breached. For 3 days Rome is plundered, its treasures seized, its people enslaved, its spirit broken. Though the city will endure, the shock is immense. Rome, untouched for 800 years, has fallen to invaders. The myth of invincibility shatters. The threat does not end. From the east comes Attila the Hun, the scourge of God. His horsemen sweep across Europe, leaving terror in their wake. In 452 CE, he marches on Italy itself. Picture the fear. Villages abandoned, crops burned, families fleeing. Rome prepares for destruction. Yet, in a remarkable moment, Pope Leo I meets Attila face to face. What was said is lost to history, but Attila withdraws, sparing the city. Rome is saved for now. Only 3 years later, another disaster strikes. The Vandals, sailing from North Africa, sack Rome again in 455 CE. This time, the pillaging lasts 2 weeks. Temples are stripped, statues toppled, treasures carried across the sea. The word vandalism will echo from this act of destruction. Rome still stands physically, but its spirit is dimmed even further. By the mid-5th century, Rome is an empire in name only. Its power rests not in emperors, but in barbarian generals who command its armies. In 476 CE, the final act comes. The Germanic leader Odoacer deposes the boy emperor Romulus Augustulus. His name, echoing both the founder of Rome and its first emperor, carries tragic irony. No great battle marks the moment. No fiery speech resists the fall. It is quiet. The empire in the west simply ends. Odoacer rules Italy in his own name, sending the imperial regalia to Constantinople. The Eastern Empire, the Byzantine world, will continue, but in the west, Rome is no more. Imagine standing among the ruins, broken statues, silent forums, weeds sprouting between stones. Yet not all is lost. The roads remain. The language of Latin endures. The laws, the ideas, the spirit of Rome they will carry forward into kingdoms, churches and cultures that rise from the ashes. Rome has fallen, but Rome has also transformed. It does not vanish. It becomes the foundation of the world to come. Now finally, let's talk about Rome's legacy. Your eyes open one last time. Before you lies the broken forum, its columns worn by centuries, its temples crumbled into silence. The great empire of Rome has fallen in the west, its emperors gone, its legions scattered. Yet, as you stand among the ruins, you realize Rome never truly died. Its spirit endures. From the earliest days of the 12 Tables to the vast legal codes of the empire, Rome created systems of law that still echo today. The ideas of rights, contracts, citizenship, and justice all bear the Roman imprint. Walk into a modern courtroom and you walk in the shadow of Roman law. Look at the ruins around you, aqueducts arching across valleys, amphitheatres standing tall, roads still etched across Europe. Roman engineering was not just strength, it was permanence. Even after 2,000 years their stones remain. Modern bridges, highways and cities carry their DNA. The Latin tongue, once spoken in these streets, became the root of Romance languages. Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Romanian. Even English carries Roman words. Roman poets, historians and philosophers, Virgil, Cicero, Seneca, still whisper their wisdom across time. Rome's embrace of Christianity reshaped the spiritual destiny of the West. From basilicas in Rome to cathedrals across Europe, from the Nicene Creed to the prayers of billions today, the legacy of Constantine and his successors endures. Perhaps Rome's greatest gift is its idea. The Romans called their city urbs Eterna, the eternal city. To them, Rome was not just walls or emperors. It was a dream of unity, law, and order. Even after its fall, kingdoms and nations called themselves Rome's heirs, Byzantines in Constantinople, Holy Roman emperors in medieval Europe, and even modern states drawing inspiration from Roman governance. Rome became more than a place. It became a symbol of ambition, resilience, and civilization itself. Now, let your eyes drift shut. Imagine the journey you've taken, from a she-wolf on the Tiber's banks to the marble palaces of Augustus, from the roar of gladiators in the Colosseum to the writings of Marcus Aurelius by firelight, from the crack of legions' boots on stone roads to the quiet fall of a boy emperor in 476 CE. Rome rose, Rome ruled, and Rome fell. Yet Rome also endures, in every language spoken, in every law written, in every stone road beneath your feet. Breathe deeply. Let the story of Rome settle within you, timeless and eternal. The city may have fallen, but its spirit whispers still, in history, in memory, in dreams. Sleep now, carried by the echoes of an empire that shaped the world. Good night.